Yo, 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 what's going on? D-Dub here. Today I just wanted to show just a little bit of my comic book collection. I do have a very small stack here, probably 20 comics. It's a modest collection, and I don't actively buy or seek out comic books. I see them now, they sell them at like Walmart and stuff like that, and they're just not the type of comic books that I'm into. And as a kid I had a couple, and there used to be a local store and we used to go and get them for like $3 or $4, and I think some of the ones that I actually have in this pile here are actually worth a little bit of money. I was rummaging through my basement the other day and I figured, you know, I'd pull them out and show them on the channel. So let's go ahead and take a quick look at my collection. So just first starting off here, I was at the dollar store the other day and they had this small little couple page comic here, and it's for the Spider-Man Far From Home, which I have not seen. I probably won't see it. There's just too many comic books these days. But this basically came with a box of cereal, and I didn't even buy the box of cereal. I know the guy that works there, so I just told him I was taking it, and he said okay, because I basically grabbed it and I started looking through it, and I just thought that just this one little cell here of him fleeing and, you know, flying over the Dollar General, I thought that was frickin' hilarious. So I went ahead and took it. You know, it's just a couple pages, nothing super special or fancy, but again, it is a comic book, so if you're into this kind of thing. Next up on the list is a Batman Earth 1 special special preview edition. And it's basically the same for Spider-Man. I don't really care for Batman. I think I have another Batman comic book, and this one I just got at the Goodwill store a couple weeks ago. It was $1, and you know, I like looking through them from time to time. I'll read a little bit of them, maybe check out some of the story. Batman and Spider-Man is one of those convoluted kinds of things that there just ends up being just so much to the story that I can't keep up with. But one of the things that I like, and we'll see going through the other comic books that I have, one of the things that I always liked was the little ads and stuff that they have here for toys or products from the time. And even though this is a newer comic, it doesn't really have those types of things, but most of the comics that I have in this collection are from the early 90s, 1993, 94, stuff like that. So we have here, this was a comic that was given to me by, I believe, my uncle, and it is Beware the Rage of a Desperate Man, and this is a Spider-Man Part 1. One of the problems with it is that it started falling apart, but I mean, look at that. Right off the bat, you have the plot thickens, Castlevania Bloodlines. If this wasn't so cool, I might even just cut that off and kind of just go ahead and frame it, because I mean, look at how cool that is. I love seeing stuff like this with all the old ads. So this was one that I never really read. It had some, you know, starting off, had some of this cool quotes and stuff like that. Further on, you actually get into the actual comic. You know, you flip through, and then it had this part, which was basically what I always thought was really cool. And I might go ahead and frame that just because of how awesome that looks. And look at that. I don't even know if they do stuff like this anymore and put it into comic books, or if you can even get stuff like this. But that right there is definitely an epic shot. And although I'm not too really into comic books, you know, it's like I said, I appreciate the art, I appreciate the form of it, and I'm glad that they're still around and that people still care about them and actively seek them. Because as we get going on further here, I don't have any more Spider-Man or Batman, just happened to be how it came out. But here we have the X-Men Game Gear ad. And it's just stuff like this that I miss. I mean, you got a guy on a skateboarder. You got a guy on a skateboard here. You got the Game Gear shots from it. You got the box art here. I mean, that's just really cool stuff. And then, of course, simple pimple control to treat and prevent acne. Stridex pads. Face it, it's it's time to take control of your skin. Nothing without a prescription is more effective. Nah, it's not gonna translate. But like the guy's signature, it's almost like in real life, it's almost like it's holographic, like these glass shards. It's almost like if you look at it at the wrong angle, it kind of blurs, and then when you tilt your head, it kind of becomes more clear, and kind of depending the light, I'm not sure exactly what you would call that, or the way that they printed it, but it's something pretty cool. Here again was another one that I got for like $1. And yeah, $1.95 US. But you can see we got some MLB action going on here. Cool Kit Kat commercial right in the middle here. Like I said, growing up we always went to this small comic book shop. I don't remember it being there for long, but pretty much all these comics that I got, it was probably around from when I was like age 6 or 7. Ooh, Jinko. The Ancient Art of Yo Demystified, and I actually still own a couple pairs of Jinko shorts. I had quite a few pairs of the pants growing up, not any of the big rad ones. I remember my brother, he had these giant kangaroo ones with the bottoms of the feet being like 32 inches around on both legs, which was just ridiculous. But so yeah, I pretty much collected these comics from maybe when I was like 6 or 7. We used to go down there like, I don't know, every week or a couple times every week. I wish that store had been around longer, because I don't remember much really about the store, but I know that it wasn't there for very long into my comic book, quote unquote collecting. And so that's basically why this died out, but I definitely got some cool comics in my time there. We have the Ren and Stimpy here, the Madcap Wrestling issue, which I always just loved this episode of Ren and Stimpy, but that comic here is just really cool. It's cool to see a comic book outside of just a regular cartoon, especially something that's not really niche, but just as dumb as, Ren and Stimpy. And I always like that these, along with like the Itchy and Scratchy, are basically, like a side series in the own universe and cartoon of. Ooh, we got the NBA Jam. All the ads that are in these are just really awesome. We got the Capcom wrestling right there, and it's just one of the best. It's just so cool to see ads like that and how they encapsulate the time that they're from. So we also have the Incredible Hulk. That's a pretty cool ad. All these ads just really make their mark on what the time is. And I don't know if they still do those kinds of things in current comic books. I think the space is more bought out by the companies that print them. So back then, I guess it was more of a thing where, the different companies would buy the ad space and put it in. But I just always loved looking through these, or like the PS1 manuals specifically. Not really, gargoyles. Not really too much of any other console game like booklet, but mostly like the PS1, you would actually flip through and you would see things for like different t-shirts, or maybe like a Tony Hawk game, you would see a certain brand that just really marks that time that it came out. Like right here we got the Spiderman for Genesis and Super Nintendo, which I have it on the Super Nintendo, and that game specifically sucks. So there's that. But you got Ren sticking the hose into Stimpy's mouth. Like, these monkeys are just going nuts eating food, and then they eventually get into the wrestling ring. The snack of the future, we got Betty Crocker X-Men gummies. Just ads like that. Ooh, Super Nintendo. I remember playing that game. I wish I had it, but just the ad alone, some of these ads are almost worth framing in and of themselves. Like the Castlevania one, I might almost want to frame that, even though it's on the front. Well, it's on the back side of the front cover of the first Spider-Man comic that I got. But it is Castlevania, so it might be worth cutting it off and putting it in a frame. That would be pretty cool. But so today, you know, I just had been going through my basement, and I figured it's only 20 or so comics, but I figured I would pull them out. And just really going back to my childhood right here, we have the Stone Protectors. I don't really recall where I got this comic. I think it was free, and that's why I ended up with 2 of them. And I remember the Stone Protector toys had a couple of them, and they kind of did the spring arm where, you know, you could basically like throw the other guys with it. But I always liked the stone that was in their chest and kind of what they represented. Like the art book here, the art here, it almost looks like it's something out of like a coloring book even. Just really cool art, really cool comic. You know, I remember some of the cartoons. I wish I still had the toys. Like, I don't know what happened to those. I think I only had just a couple of the different guys, but they had the cool spiked hair. Like my brother, he had the guy with the mohawk there that's in the center. I had one of the other guys that was on the left side there. So for some reason I ended up with 2 copies there. But ooh, Sugar Babies and Charleston Chew and Sugar Daddies. Like I said, they just threw all these great ads into here, and just those alone are like a time capsule almost for, you know, what this period was. And like I said, all these comics are from pretty much 94. I had a couple that said 93, but for the most of it, it's 94. So depending on if it was the end of the summer or not, you know, I was 6 and 7 getting these. Ooh, Pizza Hut, extreme pizza with all the extra. Like, that's just a cool ad in and of itself, in the way that it kind of takes like the X-Men and, you know, sort of uses the comic to, you know, put the ad out. Like, that's just really cool. I would have loved to have drawn comics like this, even though I can't draw worth a damn. I would have loved to have been contacted back in the day to do like this here, like a Stridex ad, and then take your own characters and basically draw up an ad for it and then put it in the back. I mean, that's cool, just seeing these characters here holding this bottle of Stridex, and you can see at the top here, like he's holding it. It actually has like a gun handle on it. Got some more X-Men for the Spider-Man, X-Men for the Genesis and Game Boy and Super Nintendo. See, it's always weird how the Super Nintendo, they always have the box kind of horizontal, tucked away, and then they always put the Genesis box vertical in front of it. And then you could see there that the Game Boy game kind of had its own black square on the side. Captain Crunch, back when he was still the man. So we're going through the Tom and Jerry comic book here. Got a cartoon show sweepstakes for Casper the Ghost. Like, I always liked this comic just because I remember watching these cartoons when I was a kid, and I don't even, you know, really recall like what some of these characters are called, but they're just so iconic. And so I just kind of flipping through this one real quick, but we have this really cool Hershey ad here with the, you know, powdered chocolate milk, and it's cool that they kind of did, you know, like these word puzzles and fill in the blanks. So Itchy and Scratchy, which I loved this comic just so much because it didn't have words, you didn't have to read, you just kind of went through, and it was always cool that Itchy and Scratchy's a cartoon in the cartoon world. You know, you got Bart and Lisa and stuff, like a cartoon are watching a cartoon, and then they actually put out just this sole comic book for Itchy and Scratchy, and all the art is done just amazingly well. The way the colors pop, the way it's just, the colors specifically, just the way it's drawn, and even the paper that it's on, like it's almost shiny in a way, but they just did such a good job on it, and I just completely commend them for that. And so yeah, I used to just kind of browse this as a kid, you know, you had these different little side articles and stuff like that, like people writing to them and things like that. And in the back here, got the Simpsons trading card. Like, I don't recall ever seeing those. I might have to go on eBay and see if I can try to cop some of those, because those are pretty sweet. I always loved the Simpsons. I haven't watched in a long time, but Simpsons was always just a cartoon, you know, every Sunday at 8 o'clock, you know, especially at the end of the summer every year when school started, and watching that and King of the Hill. Right here we got a Frank Zappa, Civilization Phase 3. I mean, this is 1994. I think he died in 95 or 96, maybe even 97. So, you know, that was pretty much right before he died. And I guess I never really even realized that that was the back cover there, but just really cool to see. Couple ones quick. We got the adventure of Superman, and that one was pretty cool. Just your typical adventure superhero. Pink Panther. The Pink Panther one was always really cool. Had the double flip here with the Quick Draw Mcgraw and the Huckleberry Hound. I always liked that. It was two different comic world or cartoon worlds put into one, and you know, they had the different ads for like the Woody Woodpecker and the other Tom and Jerry comics. So you're basically at that point, you know, plugging these other series with these other series. And I haven't seen Huckleberry Hound since I was maybe like 7 or 8. I don't know. Same for Quick Draw McGraw. I don't know if they even air those things anymore, but I remember seeing them as a kid. I always liked this one, the Creepy Crawly Tales, and it had the flip cover from when Homer flipped out and he basically turned into a giant, and he kind of went through Crash and stuff. And this is the same thing where the comic, it's the same as the Itchy and Scratchy. Like, the comic was of the same quality as the cartoon. They didn't like skimp out on coloring it. You know, they didn't do anything like that, and it was just always really awesome, the amount of work that they put in. We got a ad here for the cereal. Then we got the real Ghostbusters. I always thought that was cool. I'm not too much for Ghostbusters myself. I remember seeing the movie way back in the day. Played the game on the NES. I always thought this was cool, though, and worthy of its own frame, which you would have to kind of undo the staples and pull it out. Do you have the stomach to battle in the belly of the beast? And it's for Nintendo, for Abadox, which I don't think I recall that game whatsoever. But, I mean, look at that art. They just don't do that anymore, and they don't print stuff like that in magazines anymore. You don't see that at all, ever. Abadox for the Nintendo. Mutant Dogs. And then in the back there, I probably should have showed it better, but you know, here we have Sonic the Hedgehog with a break me off piece of that Kit Kat ad. And this is the one where, like, an evil Sonic clone, he kind of comes about from Dr. Robotnik. That's cool, seeing the old school Archie comics, like Mail Away, get a t-shirt. Those are pretty cool, and they put a lot of that into this one. But you can see Robotnik. Ooh, the all-new pumped up Sonic. Now, that's just funny photo with a F. F-O-T-O, photo. But I mean, that's what Sonic should have looked like for the movie. Don't you think? Sonic would have looked cool as that. The Action Zone, again, this was one that just had like mending of different heroes, and I thought, you know, it's got one of the Ninja Turtles on the front, and he looks evil, kind of like they did in the original comic before the show actually came out. You know, here they're showing some of the toys. I remember having actually quite a few of the toys, and one of my mom's friends, she was not having a really good time, and so at one point she basically was like, you guys are outgrowing these, you don't really use them anymore, I'm gonna go ahead and give them to basically her friend for her kids. And I forget if it was for their birthday or Christmas maybe, but you know, they were hard down on their luck. And so we basically said go ahead and give them to them. And I specifically remember that, but I don't remember the toys. I just remember kind of feeling good, like, okay, we gave them to these kids that literally don't have nothing. They had just moved. They were in like a divorce situation or something like that, so they didn't have much. But I definitely wish that I had said no, I want to keep these. Get blasted into the action zone Saturday mornings on CBS. I don't even know if Saturday cartoons are still even a thing. Like, I haven't watched cable television and it's been almost a decade, so I don't know if Saturday morning cartoons are even a thing anymore. Here's another couple quick ones that I just want to go through, and that's Pit. That was a little bit more graphic, a little bit more adult, but that was cool. This is the other Sonic the Hedgehog one that I have, where I remember in it he actually dies and they're like crying about it, but I think he just ends up being frozen. And then of course, classic Game Gear. I love seeing all these Game Gear ads on all these comics. Like, some of the video game ads, those are some of the reasons that I just basically kept all of these. And here we have this Dai Kamikaze, which I don't think I really ever read that much. I don't really know much about the series or anything like that. But even if you don't read a comic, I mean, I could always appreciate the artwork, even if I never really read it. But again, this had a Speed Racer preview at the end, and so chances are that was probably the reason why I wanted this. So this is X-Men Adventures, Attack of the Nasty Boys. Another Captain Crunch. Captain Crunch was the man. And see, even stuff like this, Toys R Us, like, be the first to own Sonic 3 at Video Mania, and you get a free bonus CD, and you can see the price was $69.99. So yeah, games are pretty much cheaper now. Like, even, wow, look at this ad right here. This couldn't wait until the 21st century. Mega Man X, I mean, I might even, that's worthy of a frame in and of itself. Chances are I will probably cut this out and probably put it in a frame on the wall, because that's just cool as hell. The X generation of Mega Man is here and only available for the Super Nintendo. And that was a pretty good game, by the way. I still liked probably the regular 1 through 10. Well, originally 1 through 6, and then 7, and 8, 9, 10. But I think I still like the original Mega Man more. But Mega Man X is still great, and I own a copy of that. And I probably will pull this page out and put it in a frame on my wall, just because that'd be freaking sweet. So, NBA Jam at Home, March 4th. I mean, imagine the world where that game hadn't even come out yet. I mean, that's 93 or 94 right there. Last but not least, Crash Test Dummies, which I remember having the toys when I was a kid. My guy, his arms and legs fell off. You know, the head fell off, the arms fell off, the shoulders fell off, the hands fell off, the legs and the feet separated. I mean, they just turned into a little pile of like 20 different pieces. That's a really cool ad right there. Lock, shock, and barrel. But yeah, the Crash Test Dummies, those things were so cool. My brother, he had a car, and I had the motorcycle. The car, like, the hood crunched, the like motor like flew out, the windshield fell out, the doors blasted open, they fell off. Same for the trunk basically like crunched up, and all the wheels just fell off, and all these different parts to it, and those were so cool. I had a motorcycle, and the sidecar came off, and that thing was pretty cool. But so anyways, you can see here I did pull that out of the Spiderman magazine, and I went ahead and framed it because it's badass. So yeah, guys, like I said, you know, I didn't really collect comic books growing up, but in a short period of time, probably a summer, a spring, going into a winter, before the store actually closed, I managed to amass a small, modest collection of comic books. So let me know in the comments, did you collect comics? Do you have any cool comics to share, or do you just like some of the stuff that's in these? Either way, let me know your comments down below. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Make sure to smash that thumbs up button, 2019 style, baby. Do it for D-Dub. I'm out. I will see you guys on another video.